you're doing freelancing, you don't want to just be that designer that will just do the job and go. For every project I've done for people as a freelancer, I make sure that the project gets to the end.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to One on One, where we discuss with great people and ask them questions on time when they took some certain decisions that changed their tech careers and how they actually made the decisions, what they passed through when they're making those decisions. So today we have someone special with us today. His name is Nuel, as a product designer, and we're going to be discussing the freelancing world and the 95 corporate world, and I was able to manage both worlds. So please stay with me as I discuss with him and follow. Let's learn one or two things. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening once again, Mr. Noel. Welcome once again to this show, and this show is how do I explain it now? It's a one-on-one program where we discuss with people that have done great things in tech and we ask them a couple of questions, and they're able to shed light on those particular things that based on their experience. That's the most important thing. Based on their experience. So, like I said before, I've told you before now, we are discussing the freelancing world, difference between the freelancing world and the corporate world, basically the balance point between the freelancing world and the corporate world. So before we go deep into the questions that I have for you today, so I don't know, please, how can you balance the freelancing world and the 9 to 5 world? Having experienced both of them, having worked in those two sectors, how can you balance the freelancing world and the 9 to 5 world? Let us shed more light on it.
Okay, so is freelancing better? Is 9 to 5 better? The truth is, none is bad, none is better. So if you want to do freelancing, it depends on what you do, right? Okay. So for me, I was running a business. So when I got into product design, I had to pause the business. Already I built a system, I built a structure that can make it run without me being there, because I love to automate things, right? So I had people that were working there already. Now, if you check most freelancers, 90% of them had a side job. So if you know, right, because freelancing job doesn't come consistently. Right, it doesn't come, it comes and goes, right? It comes today, you don't see it tomorrow. You can get one today that will sustain you for a whole week. It happens, right? But if you know that this thing you want to do freelancing full time, then you have to start learning those skills. You have to start building capacities, right? You have to start learning those soft skills, like being a salesperson, being a business person in design, so you can be able to run this as a business because it's full time to you. But if you want to do both 9 to 5 and freelancing, then this is where time management comes to play. So you need to learn how to manage your time. You need to learn, when do you want to freelance? When do you want to do your corporate? Now, for some, it's easier if you do hybrid or you do what's called now remote 9 to 5, right? But if you do even remote 9 to 5, sometimes it's not favorable because people use screen captures and all that now because they don't trust people or staff to say, okay, I'm working remote. Now, time management is of the essence. You can dedicate 2-3 hours to freelancing while you do your 9 to 5. The thing is going to stress you a little, but with time you get used to it. So what I was doing then was I was dedicating my time to freelancing, not for clients, because I wasn't taking client job, like I said. I was just giving myself personal projects and then still doing my 9 to 5 and then see how I can combine the 9 to 5 with personal projects. Those things help me build capacity. So that when I go into freelancing, I've already had this mentality of how I was able to handle all those things. And then I'm now able to handle it in real life projects. So I was able to do time management, build capacity enough before I finally ventured into doing 9 to 5 and freelancing after 3 years of design.
Okay, so
that was what helped me.
Okay, so thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So you mentioned time management. It means that you were able to pick up something before you venture into freelancing, basically, or before you're able to get the hang of freelancing, basically. So I want to ask you this question: what is the most important mindset you have to develop or come up with, bring on, put into practice before you were able to nail the freelancing and the 9 to 5 world? What was the most important mindset you're able to bring into the question that made you achieve all of this that you achieved?
Okay, first, I'm someone that knows how to multitask. All right, so if you've not learned the skill of multitasking, it's going to be different and it's going to be difficult for you. All right, so you need to learn how to multitask. You need to know how to allow your brain do different things at the same time, right? Because there's something about design generally. If I spend so much time doing one design, and then move to another, there's a block that happens most time with designers. You just feel like you're in another world entirely. And then when you go back to the first one, it feels a little bit off also. It happens to almost everybody, right? We might not admit it, but it happens. So one thing I figured out was I had to learn to multitask. I had to learn to take up two things at the same time. And then I also, you need to be heavy on communication. That's very important. In fact, I'm going to talk about that in almost everything I say. So your client should not feel like their job is suffering. Your 9 to 5 should also not suffer. So in order for that to happen, you need to know how to multitask, you need to know how to communicate. And those were the two things I was able to learn to the core while I was doing both 9 to 5 and freelancing.
For someone that multitasks, how were you
Yeah.
able to deal with? Because when you're multitasking, not everything goes the way you expect. Actually, you are being realistic. There are times you'll be disappointed with the way the other person at the other end actually tender some certain things. Sometimes you'll be disappointed. Sometimes you miss out your deadline and all of that. So how were you able to now undo all those hard truths, all those reality, all those real life stuff? How are you able to be facing all those issues, and you're still able to meet up with your target? You're still able to, okay, no, despite whatever is happening around me, what's that added truth that you're able to still overcome, that made you still achieve the goal of multitasking and not being discouraged? So yeah, please.
All right. So basically, so when I started designing and I went into the corporate world, I don't like building in isolation, right? I don't like doing things alone most of the time. So I prefer to have like a team around me. I prefer to understand how this thing works. So I went into corporate, right, to learn how people do this thing in the corporate world, right? So um, it taught me a whole lot. It taught me patience. It taught me how to work with people. It taught me even how to charge people for my skill, right? Which is one issue freelancers have, how to charge. They really do not know, okay, this project, look at the scope. How much should I charge for it? This has always been a problem. People come to me and ask me that same question. But what helped me was when I went into the corporate world, I was in the corporate for like 3 years. I think I just started freelancing about 2 years ago. This is my second year as a freelancer and also in the corporate world as well. So in the corporate world taught me a whole lot, which revolves around um, managing teams, working with teams, collaborative spirit, right? So even in my multitasking state, right, I could still work with people and I can still work alone. Okay. So when I started out earlier, I wasn't freelancing. In fact, I was rejecting job because I knew if I take this job, I was not going to deliver because I had not built capacity to handle two things at the same time, two multiple projects. So one thing that I did was while working in a corporate setting, I was building capacity for myself. So how was I doing that? I was not getting freelancing jobs in corporate, right? But I was creating a task for myself to say, okay, you know what? I'm in the corporate settings, but just to learn more about multitasking and know how to do it better, I'll give myself a task, right? And I'll be committed to it to say, okay, I'm working 9 to 5. I have a task I have to complete, and I was trying to do both at the same time. So now, why did I do that? I didn't want to test my capacity with the client's project. I wanted to test it with mine. So if it fails, it fails. But if it works, then if I do it over time and it keeps working, then I can do it with the client's project. So for the past 3 years of my design career as a product designer, I wasn't taking freelancing jobs. I was getting them sincerely, but I always tell them I can't because I know that I'm going to flop. I'm going to disappoint you. I might get to the middle of the project and tell you I'm not doing it again, maybe because of stress or due to overload from my 9 to 5. And I didn't want that to happen. But if it's my personal job and then I'm stressed or overloaded and I give myself the excuse of I'm not doing it again, it doesn't affect anybody. I'm not losing money. I'm not losing anything. I'm still good, right? I just have to try it again. So that was one thing I was able to do. I was able to build capacity with personal project, and I call those projects like a client's project. And that was how I was able to break that barrier between 9 to 5 and freelance and balance it up.
Okay, so you said you were, even while you were multitasking, you did not try multitasking with clients projects. I actually did
Not,
that.
yeah, not at first.
Not at
Not at
first. That
first.
was that actually, because when you try all of these things with clients projects, okay, I want to put myself out there. I want to be what I was. I want to, what do they call it? What do they call it now? I want to push myself to the limit. Try out, go beyond my breaking points. We decided to try all of these things
Yeah,
with clients project, and we flop. And when we flop, the aftermath is just, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. So actually, that's
exactly.
actually very, very important. It's very important. So I want to ask you a personal question now.
Yeah, good.
If you were to advise yourself, yeah, you to advise yourself 3 years ago, because you said 3 years ago you were still doing corporate. So if you were to advise yourself three
Yeah.
years ago before you came into the freelancing world, basically, what was that? What's going to be that advice you would love to to give yourself 3 years ago that would have prevented some of all those backlash you had, or that would have made your freelancing world better? So I wonder, what's that one advice you want to give yourself 3 years ago before today?
Okay. One advice I'll give myself. So, one thing I figured out, um, I didn't figure it out early, was that communication is a big skill
Okay.
when it comes to freelancing. It's
Okay.
very big. So when you're freelancing, you need to understand that these people trust you with their project. They trust you with their entire idea. So I don't see freelancing project as gigs that you just do and go, right? For every freelancing I've been doing, from um, when I started doing freelancing, I'm going to tell you a story first. Um, Within that 3 years, I think I took a freelancing job because I needed money, and I was still doing 9 to 5. But something happened along the line. The client always wants feedback, and I can't be providing you feedback when I'm at work because it was a hybrid work. So I was mostly in the office, and then you want me to get on a call with you and all that. So it became a problem for me. It became a problem in the sense that I was not able to communicate with this client enough to get more information about his project. So by the time I'm ready to get that information, he's not available. By the time he's available, I am not available. So this became a clash. The truth of the matter is, halfway into the project, I had to refund him his money. I told him I'm not doing it again because I couldn't cope, right? And he didn't have that patience to be patient with me. I refunded his full money, right? Even if I've gone halfway into the design. So, like I told you before, when you're doing two things at the same time, right? If you don't have the capacity to handle it, this is what happens. The first thing is, when you move to the first one and focus on it, which is your 9 to 5, right? Say you're doing a design in the office 9 to 5, your brain just takes this design and see it as something. Now, when you move to the freelancing job, right, you will start having this clash of ideas in your head because there's no capacity to handle both. So, if I'm to advise myself, I would have built enough capacity earlier, even before going into freelancing. So it was when I started doing freelancing, I now had to build enough. I was building capacity there, but it was not enough like I should, right? Because now if you come to the freelancing world, it's no longer the same. You're meeting this client today, they're sending you a brief of one document. You're meeting this one tomorrow, you're meeting a team of 10 people, and there is no balance, there is no specific, there's no specific rule or there's no specific style to how your freelancing jobs come. And then if you don't have the capacity to communicate with 10 people, you just have capacity of communicating with the client alone, then you're going to have problems, right? So, which is one thing I should have told myself while I was building capacity. I would have built capacity that handles a single client and a capacity that handles a team of members, right? Because I've had freelancing jobs with companies, right, where they have a team already, but I was just contracted to do something for them and go. And another thing is, when you're doing freelancing, this is an advice. So I'm just going to cover a whole lot of stuff. When you're doing freelancing, you don't want to just be that designer that will just do the job and go. I've never been that person. For every project I've done for people as a freelancer, I make sure that the project gets to the end, except they themselves pull out and say, okay, you know what, we want to post this project, we don't want to do it again. All right? Or they say, okay, you know what, we are done, this is where our contract ends and you can go. In fact, funny enough, there's a design I did for a client. As a freelancer, you need to know how to sell, you need to know how to be a businessman. You can't tell me you're a freelancer as a designer. All you want to do is just design and go. No, you need to know how to sell. That's why when clients approach you and say, okay, this is what we want to do, how much are you going to charge? Most freelancers that I've seen that are designers, they have that issue of charging. They really do not know because they don't know that, okay, what is this thing worth? So you need to be a salesman to be able to sell because freelancing job doesn't come every day. Secondly, you need to be a business person. You need to understand that there's a business side of design. I can design and I can make money from design are two different things.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
thank
so
you
that
very
was that was what helped me.
Okay. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So wrapping up all of that, I really want to say thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your time, and honestly, it has been really, 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 really impactful. And honestly, I really hope to invite you some other time on the business part of design. You really made mention of that, the business part of design, where we discuss longer and more on the business part of design, because many people don't know that actually. Many people don't know that. Many people don't know that.
It's not popular yet.
And please,
I'm still scratching the surface.
So thank you very much, Mr. Nuel. Really appreciate you, and have a wonderful night. So see you soonest on this call, honestly speaking. Thank you very much, sir. Have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.